Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Yorgos and this is the Ove Boat. In last week's episode we went through the overhaul plan. What we need to do today is work on that plan, and before we even touch the cables we need to start working on the switch panels. And if you remember that the one switch panel actually is in place, needs to be screwed of course, however the smaller switch panel doesn't fit yet. So one of the things that I need to do today is open up a bit of more space, a bit of more hole there in order to be able to fit the switch panel properly. So let's work on that. Here is the switch panel that needs to be installed. And in order to make my life a bit easier, I have created this pattern from cardboard. And how this goes is like this. So what I will be doing then is take this pattern and draw it through on the panel, and then with my tool I will be cutting enough glass fiber in order to have all of that ugliness go away. And remember, when we are working on glass fiber, there are certain things that we need to do, and those are protection, so safety first. So I will be wearing a mask and I will be wearing glasses and also gloves in order to do that work, so that I don't breathe in that glass fiber or anything just touching my skin. So let's start with drawing the pattern with a pen, and then after I have used all of the protection, then start cutting through. We have the switch panel installed, and what I'm going to do then is find the correct area that I need to draw this. And in here it looks rather okay. So with my pen and or marker rather, with my marker I will draw the outline So we are marking the outline of that small switch panel that will be installed. Go through it. And I would say it looks pretty good. So now what we need to do is remove the switch panel. And now we can cut through this area, what we can see here. So now that we have outlined everything, time to protect ourselves and start with the cutting work. Everything is ready. Multi-tool is here, gloves on, mask, putting on my glasses, and we are starting the work. Let's do this. had to file it slowly and very little at each time so that I wouldn't create any gaps, but in my opinion it looks pretty good. So let's look at it, how it has turned out to be. I am ready to proceed to the next step. I have my multimeter in here and I have put it to buzz. So the way that I will be able then to identify the cables is that I will be putting one at a time the one end of the multimeter to the cable, and then I will be going around the boat and checking all of the ends so that I can then identify which cable is which and mark it down. Very important. So let's do this. These are all the cables. Let's go with this black one. And then on the back of the boat, we found the first one. Let's go. Mark it down. Now let's see if I can locate the negative of the battery. That looks a bit more complicated, but let's see if we can get it at the first go. I managed to locate it. It was a bit hidden. They had cut it a bit longer, or shorter rather, so it wasn't very visible, but now I have located it. So let's listen to it, how it sounds. There we go, we have some sound. Now that I have identified the cables that go from the battery to the switch panel, I would want to kind of future-proof this project, because unfortunately the two cables that go from the battery, they are both black. So what I want to do is put this red heat shrink on the battery end of the cables to make sure that this is kind of very visible, that this is the positive end of the battery, and then one of the kind of smaller part of this same heat shrink that will go to the switch panel, so that I know exactly what cable it is without really having to put that tape that I put earlier on. I will be using the same tape, of course, for identifying all of the other cables going forward. And then there is another part that I want to do now to the battery end of those cables, and that is to install already the battery terminals. And for that I will be using this one. So the cables that are on the battery, they are 2.5 millimeter or square millimeter thickness. That in American standards would be translated to between 10 and 12 AWG. So that indicates then that those cables can take around 40 to 50 amperes. So that is pretty good current for what I'm planning to use for this boat. So without further ado, let's proceed with cleaning up those cables a bit, installing the heat shrink and the battery terminals. This one now looks pretty sturdy. So this one is ready, and you can see that there is already some glue coming out from that heat shrink. So this is brilliant. This is really good. Perfectly installed. As you can see, for the negative part, this has been in really bad shape. So what I'm going to do, I will cut this part somewhere here. Throw this bit and then install another one of those battery terminals. And first what I need to do then is strip this wire. That one is done. And then the same. Again, crimped really well, and battery terminals done. Excellent. Now we can clearly identify which one goes where. Now I'm gonna mark the positive end on the switch panel, and that concludes then the cables that are going from the battery to the switch panel. Okay, let's do this. Somewhere there is good enough. And this part is done. So let's proceed now to try to identify the navigation lights. 3 days and 1 haircut later, I'm back at the garage, and it's time to identify the rest of the cables. So we need to start with the navigation lights. What I need to do then is unscrew the casing for this light. And it seems that we have a light here, which is it looks like might be working. So we have the cables connected. What I think I will do for making this project a bit easier is that I will use this top connection for positive and the bottom one for negative. So let's go from the other side of the boat, do the same thing. And what I will be doing then is I will be putting the multimeter on each end and go then where the switch panel is and try to identify which cable is which. Let's do that. And from the other side then do the same thing. It appears that one screw is missing from here, so that is something then that has to be added to the list of things that I need to purchase. And apparently this screw is exiting as it is. All right. Also, it might be that I need to buy a new seal for this. It's looking a bit old and crusty. Cable seems to be intact. This seems to be intact as well. Also, for making my life a bit easier, I will remove the light bulbs because they have these holes that these are sitting on, so it's easier then to rest the one end of the multimeter on those holes. So I'll do that. And now what needs to be done, bring the multimeter, put it on the side, on each side, and identify then which cable is which. I have my multimeter here, so I'll put it to buzz. It works. So I'll put the one end on the top, which we will then name it as positive. Not this. Not this. Not the third one. Not the fourth one. We found it. So we have found the positive one. I need to mark it down. And time to find the negative. And we got a negative as well. Once this has been identified, now it's time to close it and proceed to the other side. One end is on the navigation light. Time to try to locate the positive end on the switch panel. Found it! Excellent, nothing is cut, very good. Let's mark it down. Try to locate also the negative. Success. Let's mark it down. So navigation lights now have been identified. I will be putting back the casing for the navigation light, and then I'm thinking that it might be a good idea already, because I can see from the cables the way that they are, that I can already crimp the positive end, which will then be going to the switch panel. So maybe it's a very good idea to put already the crimp there, so I know that the positives are connected to the correct crimp for the switch panel. I will leave the negatives aside for the time being, because they will be going to the fuse box on the negative end. That hasn't been installed yet, so I don't want to touch those cables, because I don't really know how long they need to be. So there might be the need to extend them prior to me crimping anything. So they have been marked and I'm not touching them otherwise. In order to save some space in the switch panel and the fuse box, and also to make it work like it should work, I will be crimping the two positives into this connector, so that when I'm actually turning those navigation lights on, it will be done only with one button, instead of using two switches and turning one light at a time. So we will be going with that solution, which is the recommended one. I will start by stripping those positive. I also think it's a good idea to just cut a very small piece of those to make them straight so that the crimping is actually cleaner. Now that I have identified the navigation lights, it appears that there are these 4 cables that they remain unidentified. I have managed to locate some cables that are back there, but they have been cut pretty much on the surface of the kind of bodywork. If these cables belong to there is nothing that can be done for them, because it's just impossible to be able to pull them or make an extension with a crimper. However, I would want to identify if these cables belong to there, because then I can plan these a bit better. So let me move the cameras then to there and see what we can do. The cables that I'm referring to are there, and I'll try to zoom very slowly that I believe the cables in question are those. I'm not sure if the cables that I have for my multimeter, if they can reach down there, but I will try to do that. Unfortunately, it seems that I cannot locate the other 4 cables. I will continue searching for those cables on my own free time. So on that disappointment, thanks for watching. Bye.